the idea that somehow we are expected to experience cities primarily through our eyes, and the rest of our body becomes passive. And obviously skateboarders do look, but it's also about muscles, it's about sound, it's about vibration, it's about texture, it's about smell, it's about touching architecture. Lefebvre basically says that urban space, or space generally, is not a natural product. It doesn't come to us from God. It's not pre-existent. We produce it. As surely as this table has been produced by human beings, so is the space that we live in. It's the object, it's the representation, and it's the experience. So Lefebvre says that urban space is made up of all these things at the same time, and therefore is historical and dynamic and changing. It is never fixed. This is what I think of when I'm thinking of experience, which is, who are you studying? Who are the people? And how do you characterise them? What are they doing? Where are they doing it? Under what conditions? What are they thinking? Or what are they unconsciously thinking? And where do these ideas come from?
And especially when the city had been divided for so many decades.
Yes.
And so thinking, how does the graffiti differ from the east to west?
This is very interesting. And how after the falling of the what happened?
Well, it may be interesting to investigate a British company that's situated in Mumbai, because we'll have more access to that here than we would do.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is really interesting about the way you thought about this straight away is this sense of kind of responsibility to the subjects. How to maybe create something that the domestic workers themselves would produce and maybe help understand their own situation.
We initially started the question by saying, how did the fall of the wall impact graffiti in the decade that followed? And then we changed the question to, does the fall of the wall impact the evolution of graffiti on either side of it during the decade that followed? And if so, then how?
So in the 80s and 90s, graffiti is quite like a transgressive act. But your idea of like mapping and decoding it seems like kind of counter to that. And it's like, how could you bring that transgressiveness back into your own work?
On the other hand, the materials speak, and you can, get that kind of interaction between you and the space. But there's the other thing in visual anthropology of sometimes there is no meaning beyond the act of doing it. So it's kind of process versus product.
When does a street become a street historically? And in a way, this partly relates back to someone's comment earlier about assumed misery, with his famous poverty maps, where he marked kind of blue areas and black areas and red areas, according to poverty and wealth, trying to think actually what was the flow of people between those, and what sources you might use to get at that.
So sometimes I think one of the questions when you're looking at experiences is, when you're looking at one experience, how much is it also a lens onto other experiences?
Right.
But that's the right position to take, to understand that you know nothing, or you know very little, and that therefore there are unknown unknowns.
Yeah.
And you can begin to speculate about what those might be.
And I think a lot of the questions that were driving the exhibition research have come into my thinking for my thesis. But they're not necessarily the most useful questions in an academic context.
Writing monographs on really, really niche artists is something art historians do a lot, because they really want those artists to be brought back into circulation.
Yeah.
So that question of relevance itself doesn't necessarily have to come into the academic research, but it's kind of like always hovering around outside of it.
The big one, the kind of the insight moment that you said something about is undoing knowing. So I kind of pretended I knew stuff for my pre-fieldwork report, and I can actually research and undo all the stuff I said that I think I know. So that's quite a big one. That's really useful.
Well, that was useful.
Yes, that was useful. And allowing yourself to kind of do that, to kind of unknow and just enter an experience.
I got some really good ideas from Alistair and Jessica about looking at oral histories, and maybe how looking at the history of housing struggles, and activism might help to define a kind of a different idea of home, which is something that residents want to defend rather than something which urban planners want to impose.
Some of the origins of California skateboarding were in the skateboarders practicing in these kidney-shaped swimming pools.
But also it's the moment that what the kids now do in streets occurs, which is you take an architect's design for one thing, in this case swimming, and you use it for something else. So it's a reimagination of the possibilities of architecture through the act of the body. But also it's transgressive. Wonderful things can come out of architecture, but they may not be the things that you planned them to be.